Story 1. If you are in need of a car battery, buy one now. I worked in a battery plant, and more than 75% of the inventory came from Mexico. Story 2. We make hot sauce at my work with the main focus on local ingredients. So our only imported ingredient is the glass bottles. Learning from last time, we ordered an entire tractor-trailer of bottles and filled our warehouse. Story 3. I am not going to hoard them, as I do not have that kind of money, but would people advise buying a car now rather than later? I am thinking this may be the case, as many cars are manufactured in and imported from Mexico. Story 4. Unless you go get stuff right now, it is already too late. Companies have been bracing for this, and new sticker tags will be up tomorrow morning. Story 5. Nothing, because everything will be affected. Some things will be more directly impacted, and their prices will rise first. Then a secondary wave of price hikes will happen, citing inflation and increased overhead due to the first wave of price hikes. This will continue until eventually everything is more expensive. Donald Trump and the Republicans will blame the Democrats. His supporters will believe it. Story 6. With the pending deportation of large numbers of agricultural workers, now is the time to start planning a summer vegetable garden. Story 7. Does anybody know what Trump actually wants from Canada and Mexico? Because seriously, nobody knows. Every interview on Bloomberg and other platforms features people just guessing. 70% of United States oil imports come from Canada and Mexico combined, so obviously, Trump will exclude oil to avoid problems for Americans, but retaliatory tariffs could be a big deal for the United States, and it would escalate quickly from there. Also, the trade deficit that Trump complains about cannot be equalized because the United States economy is so massive, and the population is 8 times that of Canada. So what does he want? Before we dive into the next story, a big thank you for lending me your ears. And hey, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It's just a click away. Story 8. Canadian here. Just wondering realistically how much of the United States population is actually in favor of these tariffs. Because it seems like sources from both the left and right are certain that prices will rise for consumers, which is the very thing that people wanted to prevent in the first place. Story 9. Everything. It is funny to me. Canada and Mexico are the United States' neighbors, close allies, and huge trading partners, while Trump claims he wants to be tough on China. Why are China's tariffs lower? At this stage, basically, tariffs are going to hurt United States consumers the most because they will increase our costs for everything. The United States is an import economy, having exported a lot of manufacturing for profit reasons. 1. This feels like a distraction. What awful, awful thing is happening that we are not supposed to see? 2. What is it going to take for the average person to realize Trump is bad for the United States? Story 10. Nothing. I am boycotting the economy this year. The only purchases I am going to make are food or if something is absolutely necessary. No eating out, no clothes or items that I may want but don't need. I am spending as little money as I can in the economy. I buy my meat from a local butcher that gets their animals from local farmers. Other food will be from a local farmer's market or my garden. Other food will come from the grocery store only when necessary. I will be supporting corporate America as little as I can. Story 11. You will feel the consequences in the cost of your groceries first. If you know a single thing about gardening, plant a food garden. Vegetables and herbs are pretty easy to grow. Invest in raised beds, quality soil, and buy plant starts when they start being stocked in the next couple of weeks. Tomatoes, peppers, zucchini, carrots, cabbage, lettuce, green beans, and even eggplant are beginner-friendly. Story 12. Just tools and food. Think of the Depression era. Do the things that they did. Stockpile and learn to fix items. Story 13. Brake pads and rotors will surely fail and be hard and expensive to find. Air filters and oil filters too. Story 14. My plan is to cut back on nearly all discretionary spending for the next 4 years, and most especially make sure I spend zero on businesses that support Donald Trump. Before we dive into the next story, a big thank you for lending me your ears. And hey, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It's just a click away. Story 15. I am buying 10,000 of these so I can stick them near every price tag. Story 16. It is unfortunate that I do not have a large fuel tank in my backyard because we import a significant amount from Canada. If the tariffs apply to fuel, we are all in trouble. Story 17. It will raise prices, then after a bit he will lift them. Prices will somewhat come down, and he will take credit for lowering them. He has done it before. Story 18. Extra small gloves and spray tanner. Then I set up my booth outside the White House. I have a feeling I will have all the business I need just in that location. Story 19. I am literally thinking about heading to Home Depot or Lowe's after work to buy around 8 to 9 pieces of plywood for some roof work I need to get done this spring. This is frustrating and completely unnecessary. Story 20. I am worried about my daughter's medications. She takes 4 separate ones because they each work on a different neuron in the brain. She is epileptic, disabled, and a whole lot of fun. She can talk and she is hilarious, but she is extremely vulnerable to this situation. I am terrified. Story 21. Bacon, Mexican Coca-Cola, maple syrup, and salsa. The 10% tariff on China is going to hurt the American consumer the most, which is why it is the lowest percentage. Even Trump and Make America Great Again merchandise will be affected by this. I recently swapped Amazon out with AliExpress, and the amount of Trump merchandise I am being suggested in advertisements while shopping there is concerning. And before you ask why I swapped an American site with a Chinese one, China has never threatened the territorial integrity of my country with military action. Trump has, and Jeff Bezos kissed the ring at the inauguration. Before we dive into the next story, a big thank you for lending me your ears. And hey, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It's just a click away. Story 22. I am not sure you can escape such broad economic effects with a couple of well-timed, smart purchases. My guess is we are in a difficult situation in a way that we cannot comprehend yet. Story 23. I am hoarding nothing. If nothing else, these threats have made my wife and me completely rethink how we live our lives. Canadian, by the way. We will no longer knowingly give 1 cent of our business to a United States company if we can avoid it. We will no longer travel to the United States, despite having family there. Instead, we will support our other southern neighbor, Mexico, by spending a month there instead of in the United States. It's not much, but it's something. We are headed for an economic catastrophe, and it is entirely predictable. Nobody can say they are surprised a year from now when interest rates are 20%, inflation is 10%, and unemployment is higher than it has been in any year since 2000. Story 24. Here we go again for round 2. People didn't learn the first time. I am going to get all of my vaccines before they stop paying for them, maybe a new phone. Story 25. I started buying as soon as Donald Trump was elected. You never know what he is going to do, so to hedge my bet, I bought tennis shoes and made sure I had plenty of socks. We purchased some electronics. From February on, I would like to only be buying perishables. Story 26. Frozen vegetables and fruits. Nothing fresh as it will be expensive and spoil after a few days. Flour, sugar, and other baking materials, as well as milk, can be frozen if you have space. Bread can also be frozen. The price of regular eggs will be increasing, so powdered eggs are an option. The price of ammunition will also rise or may become unavailable. Story 27. Surprised nobody mentions gasoline. The United States relies on Canada for approximately 61% of their oil imports. If the former president imposes a 25% tariff on imported oil, guess what happens at the pump when you go to fill up? Story 28. I bought a large quantity of lumber for projects I plan to do this summer. I would rather not pay 25% more. It would probably cost me $100 more to buy this material in a few weeks compared to today. Before we dive into the next story, a big thank you for lending me your ears. And hey, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It's just a click away. Story 29. Food and toilet paper. Even if the food is made in the United States, what about the bags or cans it comes in? I am taking no chances. I am acting like the country is burning down. I have food hidden under beds in the guest room. I went to the store today and stocked up. We have a well, a generator, a greenhouse, and many seeds. The neighbor has a cow. We are going to make it, but I am scared. I have never seen this in my life or in anyone's life in the United States. Period. Unprecedented. Story 30. Every single item sold in the United States, no matter the store or the country it came from, will go up. Everything. Every vendor is going to take advantage and raise prices, just like in 2018 and 2019. The stores are going to pass the cost on to consumers. Add to that the shortage in agricultural workers. In my humble opinion, a recession is coming. Story 31. The cash in my retirement account. I fear for the economic chaos this is going to unleash, and no stock or bond is safe. I want to retire in 10 years. Story 32. I have been stocking up on board games as most are printed overseas, and the tariffs will surely make them exceedingly expensive or push them out of print. Story 33. I am hoarding ammunition because these tariffs are not going to be the worst thing that happens in the next 4 years. Story 34. Americans, please remember that you have the right to alter or abolish your government at any time, as per the Declaration of Independence. Story 35. The world has been immensely interconnected for a while now. There is literally nothing that will not be affected. The question will become what items are so seriously affected that we no longer see them on shelves, and also what the general population will do when they cannot afford to eat. Before we dive into the next story, a big thank you for lending me your ears. And hey, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It's just a click away. Story 36. Before he took office, I bought all the coffee I could. People thought I was overreacting. Now I want to know if I am planning to sell any of that coffee. What coffee? Oh well, I donated that when you all said I was overreacting. A lie, but oh well. Story 37. My current pet conspiracy theory is that Trump keeps going back and forth on tariffs to coerce people into buying things they were thinking about purchasing, like computers, appliances, and cars, so he can point and say, look, people are confident to spend money in the Trump economy. Story 38. I bought a new computer in November in anticipation of this. You should have been making your purchases already. Now it is too late. Story 39. I'm just reading about the cost to the United Kingdom economy of Brexit, where nationalistic politicians told us Britannia would rule the waves again. It has cost us all millions, but the Conservative Party does not care because all their money is hidden offshore. So I would hoard my millions if I had them offshore. I can see the exact same phenomenon happening in America, and it is really sad. Convincing the whole country that foreigners are the problem always costs money and never ends well. I hope to be proved wrong. Story 40. Nothing. Dear leader says China, Canada, and Mexico will pay the tariffs because that is how that works. Story 41. If you need a car, you might think about getting one soon. If this happens, cars will become incredibly expensive. Story 42. Is it just malice? What is the point of these tariffs? Aren't these countries allies? Am I wasting my time trying to make sense of this? Before we dive into the next story, a big thank you for lending me your ears. And hey, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It's just a click away. Story 43. Tampons. It is hard enough involuntarily bleeding from my beautiful body once a month, but to then worry about the price of women's basic sanitary products going up? Story 44. As a border neighbor with Canada, I am hoarding kindness, music, beer, and poutine. Also, I can't forget the strippers. Story 45. Maple syrup. If you like real maple syrup and not sugared corn syrup and brown coloring, it is a now or never situation. The Maple Syrup Consortium is not going to be messing around. I would not be surprised if they block all exports to the United States and the only source will be Vermont, and they do not make enough. Story 46. My dignity and self-respect. It turns out the country I inhabit has completely lost both of those things, and they are now rare. Story 47. Everything? What isn't made outside of America? Bottom line, Trump is a liar. He always has been. 40 years ago, he was not truthful. He still is. My new response to people complaining about how prices are going to go up is, who did you vote for? He said he was going to do what he is doing. Vance mentioned that times would be tough for some people. Translation: the middle class and those with lower incomes. Story 48: electronics, appliances, and basically any other nice-to-have items that I had considered purchasing, I bought in the last few months. At worst, I finally had an excuse to treat myself to some impressive items like a General Electric profile washer and dryer all-in-one or a 5090 RTX gaming personal computer. Also, if they do increase in price, I don't need this stuff. I wouldn't turn down making a profit. That said, I cleaned out the garage to hold pantry items and non-perishables. The reality is that I see zero chance of food prices not rising significantly this year due to crops not being harvested, bird flu, and general economic challenges. There will be some pain unavoidably because they literally promised that before taking office. I'm an American, not a blind fool. Story 49. If people were smart, they wouldn't hoard anything because hoarding makes the problem 10 times worse, much faster than it would be ordinarily. Before we dive into the next story, a big thank you for lending me your ears. And hey, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It's just a click away. Story 50. Hoard bags of dried beans and rice. In times when it is hard to find food, rice and beans are packed with healthy carbohydrates, fiber, and a little bit of protein. If you have the space, freeze meats in resealable bags. Also wash the resealable bags and reuse them, and thaw them when you need to use the meat. I also go to discount produce places and stock up on onions, bell peppers, and broccoli, and I cut everything up to prep them. Then I put them in large resealable bags and freeze them. I would recommend building a garden if you have the space, but even just herbs will do well because you can dehydrate them by putting them in your oven at a low heat setting. I recommend looking up specifics and store them in a jar. I also make bone broth from rotisserie chicken bones and freeze that in old yogurt containers that I have kept over the years. I make a lot. This has saved me lots of money. You can pretty much freeze anything for future use. Your freezer isn't a time machine, though. Always cycle and date your food before putting it into your freezer so you know how long it has been there. Story 51. Oof. The United States imported 63% of crude oil and petroleum products from Canada and Mexico in 2023. Axios just reported that the planned tariffs could effectively tax the average United States household an extra $830 a year, or $69 a month. Story 52. Scotch, because that is coming eventually too. This guy is going to McKinley us back to the Great Depression. Story 53. Damn it. I wanted to post the gif of Mel Brooks opening the can of fresh air since we will probably have to pay for that soon too. Story 54. I hope everyone understands that everything is going to get more expensive, not just targeted imports. These individuals want the population on its knees. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.